Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. So I'm finally getting around to my Blade Show acquisitions and kind of Blade Show follow-up video. It's been a couple days and essentially I had to wait for the knives to get here. I had a friend who was kind enough to ship me everything after the show, and the package was supposed to go from Atlanta to Salt Lake to, where I live south of Salt Lake in Utah. Instead it took a detour to San Francisco before getting here, so took a little bit longer, a little bit stressed out considering I didn't know the status of the knives for a while there. And I've got a couple notes here in front of me of things I want to cover before we get into the knives. So the first of which is flying versus shipping. Obviously I opted to ship. Most of my friends actually fly with their knives, and up to this point no one has had a problem yet, so I probably should have done that, but it is what it is at this point. Yeah, just one consideration if you're flying out to these shows is how do you get the knives home? Do you ship them back? Do you fly back with them in checked luggage? Some people will carry a firearm so they can declare the firearm, put the knives in with the firearm in a locked box that is obviously tracked by federal agencies, or if it went missing, federal agencies would be involved. So that's another, I guess, method of getting your knives home. So anyways, that's the point I want to talk about with flying versus shipping. Another thing, so everything that I brought home from the show is something that I handled at the show. So there really is no question as to whether or not I like the stuff I brought home. Really happy with everything I picked up. If I didn't like it at the show, I wouldn't have got it. So nothing sucks that I'm going to show you, either in this video or in subsequent individual videos, of which I'm going to try to do on every single knife. Another interesting point, here's the thing about going to Blade Show, is you can buy this stuff online, right? I mean, some of the stuff that I'm going to show you guys isn't out yet. It might be a pre-production prototype, but eventually you'll be able to buy everything at the show. It's not required that you go to the show in order to get specific pieces in the production realm. Perhaps in the custom realm, there might be some pieces you couldn't get except at the show, but then at the same time, you're also competing with, 200 or 300 other guys to get that specific piece as well. So, again, if you're going for customs, you may strike out and not come home with anything, unless you want to pay top dollar. With the production stuff, which is just about everything I got, you'll be able to get it eventually. So going to Blade isn't a requirement. Between airfare, food, housing, I mean, you're safely going to spend somewhere between $800 and $1,000 just to show up. So it's not required, but it really is about spending time with your friends that maybe you've met online, or getting to meet some of your favorite makers, or meeting the makers to decide if you even want to acquire their work. You get to handle stuff that you may not have been able to handle before. I got to handle stuff like another Stan Wilson non-flipper flipper. Got to handle some of the Barker knives. What else did I get to handle? Just any number of custom maker knives that is something that I probably wouldn't be able to acquire either through price, it's too expensive, or just availability. So, there are definitely some pros and cons about going to Blade, but if you are considering, absolutely go. It's one of those things that you're going to go once and you're going to decide, hey, you know what? Even though it was an expensive weekend, I'm probably going to end up going back. So this is my second Blade show. I'm going to go at next year. The USN show is coming up in Vegas. That's also a really awesome show to go to if you guys have never been, so highly recommend it. Another interesting point. So I actually came home with 3 duplicates from this show. So duplicates as in I own the exact same model already, and this is simply a different configuration. That's something that I've actually tried to avoid it with my collection, since I can't keep everything, I can't have everything. But I like these models so much, and I like the variations so much, that I broke my own rule in one show on 3 separate knives. So as we're going through, I'll show you guys which are duplicates, and I brought the other ones out next to me so you can see, one versus the other. But I thought that was kind of interesting that I broke that rule and I did it 3 times in one show. Last thing, kind of one of the trade secrets. So as you guys have probably heard, Sunday at Blade Show is pretty dead. A lot of the custom makers are out of inventory. Some custom makers are already gone. The production companies are still there and they're still showing, and that part of the show is still in full swing. But on the last day, a lot of these companies don't necessarily want to take stuff home with them. So if there's a piece that you really like, Sunday might be that day to where you say, hey, I know this is, a prototype, or I know you said these weren't for sale, but are you really going to take them home, or maybe are you thinking about selling it before the show ends? The same can be had of even custom makers on Sunday. If they still have inventory on the table at the end of Blade Show or towards the end of Blade Show, you might be able to haggle a little bit to get some of these nicer pieces or something you've really had your eye on. So even though everyone says Sunday is a dead day, there are things that can happen on Sunday that are absolutely not going to happen on Friday or Saturday if you're looking to actually buy something. So just keep that in mind. Now, if they're, one of the super popular makers like a Rexford or something, don't hold your breath. That's definitely not going to happen. So anyways, those are the key points I want to talk about before we get into the knives. This is my little field notes notebook in a Levart leather field notes case. So carry that with me just about everywhere. All right. Oh, where to start? Let's start with this one. So this is the ZT055. This is a pre-production prototype, and as you guys can see, it has the SLT or spring-loaded tab system here. So really cool piece. Very fortunate to get my hands on one of these pre-production prototypes. So this will probably be the first one that I do a video on. After this one, if you guys want to vote what I should do a video on next, put it in the comments. Then if everyone else wants to thumb it up, I'll do my best to follow what you guys want to see first. So really cool piece. The SLT tab is really interesting. I handed this to a lot of people at the show. Collectors and hobbyists were really impressed and kind of fascinated with the system, and all of my friends who are either produce knives or work for companies that produce knives, or basically anyone who makes knives, the first thing they asked me is, hey, can I take it apart? And I said no. So I got that question at least 4 or 5 times from different makers or production companies. The wheels start turning in their head, try to figure out how to do it, but very cool system. Very cool knife. There wasn't anyone at the show who handled it that disliked this at all, so very stoked to pick this up. There will be some changes by the time the actual production version comes out, but again, we'll get into that in the actual video on this particular one. So ZT055, collaboration with GTC Knives or Gus Cicchini, and SLT spring system. So that's the first one. Second one, I love ZT. Kershaw, I like a lot of what they do, but I'm more of a ZT fan. So this was the only Kershaw that I've been dying to get my hands on. And this is the Kershaw, oh crap, I can't remember the model now. Oh, that's terrible. I'm a terrible person. Anyways, it has the hock lock. It uses a flipper tab. That's going to bother me. Induction. Kershaw induction. So anyways, really excited to get my hands on this one. This is the one Kershaw that I was dying to try out. So very cool. Obviously not the highest end steel, but the hock lock is just so much fun. I just really love it as a lock system. I'd love to see a few more ZTs with this. There was the the Mud collaboration, which was a number of years ago, quite limited, but the geometry and position of the flipper tab makes this thing a lot of fun to flip. So anyways, Kershaw induction coming out soon as well. This one's a little bit early. Happy to get my hands on it. Next one, I actually have 2 of. So Todd, Begg, Mark Begg, Begg Knives, they introduced this particular model. Man, what a day. They introduced this particular model at the show. So this is the, it's produced by We Knives, and it's based on, of course, their Glimpse model, and it is probably the most budget-friendly knife that they've done thus far. They have the Riot collabs. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But anyways, this is made by We Knives, based on the Glimpse, and it is ball bearing, flipper tab. The reason that I have 2, that's probably what you're wondering. So one is mine, and then one is my friend Nick's. I did a video with him on the Steelcraft Bodega, But he asked me to pick one of these up, and I had planned to pick one of these up anyway, so here we are with two. So when I do the video on this knife, I'll do it with Nick again, and we'll have two to, you know, for a larger sample size, which is really cool, so then we can talk about consistency of the lockup and the flipping action, things of that sort. But very, very cool knife. This one is the carbon fiber version with the fullers. They had a number of different variants. They had ones that had like, I think like green and brown G10 with the carbon fiber inlays. They had ones that didn't have fullers, ones that did. So really nice model. This is one that I specifically wanted to pick up at the show. So glad that I was able to get two. This particular variant was the first one to sell out. So if you wanted one and you were at the show, my bad. All right, next one. This is the Lion Steel SR11. I've been a big Lion Steel fan. I lived in Italy for a while, so I love Italian things, you know, Italian-made goods, wallets, knives, you know, those sorts of things. And the SR1 and the SR2 definitely held a special place in my heart. I've had quite a few Lion Steel knives. This is actually the 6th one, so I was able to talk them out of one of these at the show on the very final day. So this is the titanium version with the bronze anodized handle. This won overall knife of the year at the show, which is pretty cool. So Schleipner steel uses their convex edge. It is on ball bearings. You guys can see the flipping action. So this one flips really well. Not broken in at all. Of course, it is still brand new, but the rotolock stainless steel insert, and it's an integral, and my integral collection grows ever larger, which makes me happy. So very excited to finally see this one. We knew it had been coming for about 2 years, and you know, it's finally beginning to hit the market. So very, very cool. All right, next one. So here's one of the duplicates that I talked about. So this is, of course, the Todd Begg Bodega, or the Begg Bodega from the Steelcraft line. This is made by Riot Knives. And I just did a video not too long ago on this particular one, the blue one with the you know, partially blacked out blade. Picked this one up from Carmel Cutlery. Well, this one at the show, this wasn't available when I picked this one up, but you do have the black handles here, kind of that seashell or, I don't know, starburst type pattern. And this one has a hand rubbed satin blade. Very, very beautiful combination. So, I mean, I really, really like this one. Everyone that I handed this to was very impressed with the knife. So it was just worth getting a second. Now, one thing that was really cool is that you can actually send in these Riot knives if you want to have the, you know, the backspace or whatever. If you want to get it the cracked ice finish, they'll actually add it to the Riot knives without voiding the warranty. I don't recall on the Wii knives if that's possible, but Mark's son, his name's Tobin, he does all the cracked ice finishes on the knives and stuff like that. So anyways, there's some additional customization options on the overseas made knives that you can send them into the you know, their California, I guess, factory or workshop to have some additional stuff done. So anyways, beautiful combo. Really excited for this piece, and still in love with this piece as well. So one of the duplicates that I picked up. Next one, also a duplicate. Big fan of Guardian Tactical, and they had a new model I didn't pick up because they're making me a special one, but I was at their booth and I said, hey, what's new? And he started opening boxes, and he opened the box with this one in it, and he's like, oh, that's not what I wanted to show you. And I'm like, no, give it to me. And I pulled this one out, and it's a full titanium nano helix, and I already have the carbon fiber nano helix, and I love this knife. Love Guardian Tactical in general. USA made, family owned business. And what was really cool about this one, and the reason that I had to walk away with it, is because this is #1 of the titanium helix nanos. So yeah, so here's another duplicate. Again, love the knife, love the company, love the quality, the fit, and the finish, and I felt compelled to pick up an additional one. And then the new model, I can't think of the name right now, but hopefully that one will be coming in not too long. They're making me a special one, so pretty excited about that. All right, next. So this company doesn't get a lot of love by and large, but this is Fox Knives out of Italy, and they're actually up in Pordenone, which is north of Venice. So I was actually there when I lived in Italy. Very small, kind of quaint little town. But this is the Desert Fox, and this knife won. It won an award at Blade Show about 2 years ago. I don't recall if it was maybe Import of the Year, Knife of the Year. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look it up before I do the actual video. But this knife is really hard to come by. There's only one dealer that I've been able to find these knives at, and that's Lamnia out of the Netherlands or somewhere in that region. So I saw this one at the show, I handled it, and just knew that I had to walk away with it. So I did want to get the blue one with the Damascus blade initially, but I was like, oh, I'll come back a little bit later, and that one was gone, so I just grabbed this one. I should have grabbed the blue one initially, but it is what it is. So there's no flipper. You basically use this cutout here in the blade to open the knife, and it works really well. Beautiful knife, beautiful design. Fox does a lot of OEM work for, or manufacturing work for other companies, and we don't really see too many of their actual, in-house offerings very often. And this one is, it's beautiful. Love the design, love the materials used. The fit and finish is excellent. So this one was certainly unplanned, but I couldn't leave the show without it. So really happy to have this one, and again, I love things from Italy, so yeah, very cool. Alright, next, so let's actually start with this one. So this is a knife that Reeve introduced at Blade Show last year. It's called the K1, and I had one on loan from GP Knives. I did a video, but it's finally hitting dealers at this point, and this one is like a blue and carbon fiber with a PVD and satin flats on the blade, but very nice model, really well made. Of course, a big fan of Reeve knives, so I did spend quite a bit of time at their booth. I went back multiple times, and since they've always done really good work, and since they started working with Beg Knives, I think their stuff is actually getting a little bit better. I'll show you guys. I'm going to show you guys one that incorporates a cool feature from Beg. So, anyways, beautiful knife. Excited to have the K1 with me. All right, next. Well, let's just keep going with Reeve. So here's the K2. So, titanium frame lock flipper, and this one actually has some cool diamond type machining in the handles. Looks like a katana handle. It's just machine work, and then they went ahead and buffed or brushed the back spacer and then added a little bit of gold coloration there too. So kind of a Beg feature, but looks really good on this knife. Nice subtle detail, and as you can imagine, a knife with a katana style handle or a wrapped handle has a Tonto style blade. So the same blade shape we saw on the Liang Ma Warrior 2, just about, maybe slightly different. I'll have to look at them side by side, but hand ground. All of their really cool grinds are actually hand done. He's got a guy in his shop who does obviously some exceptional work. So this one's an S35VN. So this is the K2 model, and yeah, it's nice. Really, really smooth. All right. So I picked up another one too. This is the K3, and this one is certainly the most machine work, kind of the most ornate of the bunch. Some really nice inlays, really cool back spacer. But look at all the machine work on this thing, and then we're going to take a look at the blade. Oof. Hollow ground with a flat tip, kind of worn, modified Warncliffe-esque type of thing, but it's beautiful. That's the K3. They had another model called the K4. I didn't pick one of those up, and this one's done in CTS 204P, but man, this is, oh, it's such a cool model. So yeah, very, very nice. Alright, so that's the Reeve K3. Now, I was able to snag a prototype from Wee Knives. So this is kind of like their, it's one of their budget models, like the 617. I have one. I didn't bother pulling it out, but it's kind of an upgraded version here. And This was my favorite one from their booth, and this is one that I snagged on Sunday after being rather persistent. They were actually trying to get rid of everything out of the booth on Sunday so I didn't have to take it home. But you've got that harpoon blade, compound ground, very high height flat to a mid height flat in the back. We've got the stonewash PVD. We've got an interesting opening hole and contoured carbon fiber overlays. So yeah, super comfortable. One thing that's really cool too is there's actually a stainless steel lock insert on this liner lock, and that's a pretty dang thin liner. Like I've seen other companies do lock inserts on liners, but never this thin. So really interesting, really smooth, and incredibly comfortable. This thing is super comfortable in the hands. So they had some pretty cool prototypes, but this one was my favorite of the bunch, and happy they were willing to let me walk away with this one. So yeah, no model number or anything on it yet, no ETA, no idea. So I guess just kind of a taste of things to come. All right, so the Liangma Kitchen Utility Folder, or KUF, and he's got it in carbon fiber and in micarta. So trying to figure out which one I'm actually going to pick up from him, but really interesting knife. I'll go into details when I actually get to the video on this one, but he designed kitchen folders or utility folders like this around 10 years ago and finally put it into production. So his background is as a professional chef. So of course this design would obviously speak to his background and his skills, but frame lock, no flipper, just has the opening hole, of course. And yeah, he made a lot less of the micarta ones, and then he made more of the carbon fiber ones, but he did an integral backspacer, so this was one solid piece of carbon fiber, and then they just milled away obviously everything but the backspacer. So used up a lot of material to make these handles. Very cool knife. Alright, so this is the Liangma Kitchen Utility Folder, or KUF, and yeah, we'll have a video on these. Alright, somewhat last but certainly not least, this is Clyde Challenor Talon, and another duplicate. So I have this Talon here with the Damascus steel and the Damascus. Love this piece, and he had this one on his table, and well, it's got that awesome dragon scale Damascus. Not the best steel for actual use, but I have coveted the steel for a long time. So if Clyde's gonna make a knife and it's gonna have the steel that I want, push comes to shove and you do what you got to do. So and then the handle pattern actually matches kind of my let me grab it, my Raptor 2. So kind of a nice tie-in here. And then he did open his books up at Blades, so I'm on his books for yet another build. But I don't know, this is a duplicate, maybe even a little bit more if you look at kind of the way that they're configured, but very cool piece. Love this steel, wanted it for a very long time, so really happy that I got to pick this one up. Just look at the colors. Oh, not even broken in yet. None of these really are. I mean, I just got the box today. Thankfully it did not get lost. And last knife, this one's not actually mine. I picked this one up for my buddy Richard, ex-Machiavelli, and he was all hot and bothered about this particular piece. I guess it's the large Inkosi Insingo with micarta inlays. He wanted natural, they were all out, so I got him this, I guess the darkened micarta inlays. It's nice, again, Chris Reeve makes great, well, the Chris Reeve company makes great knives. It's now run by his wife, or ex-wife and son, who were actually at the show selling the knives. So, nice people. If they ever make one of these, but they actually stonewash instead of bead blast that handle, I will be very, very tempted. So anyways, this one's going out to Richard. I just thought I'd show it just because it's here. So yeah. All right. So that's a nice piece. I guess it was new for Blade Show, and people who buy a bunch of Chris Reeve knives that look exactly the same, they were all excited to get it or something like that. All right, so now we're going to get into some of the odds and ends. Bag Knives also made these, or brought these really cool cases that they made. So I was able to get one of these from them, which is actually really nice. So really high quality case. This is how I carried most of my knives around the show after I got it. Holds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Holds 12 knives. So, when you've got a bag full of knives, it's nice to not have to take every single one out of a zipper case when you're showing them to people. So I think they're going to start selling these. These were kind of like an early run. They'll probably brand them or something, but really high quality. It's always nice to find useful things to carry knives in that aren't super bulky and big. All right, other odds and ends. Picked up a new hank from my friends over at Fox Hanks. So this one really liked, really good looking hank. There were quite a few hank people, or people selling hanks at the show. So anyways, there's that. I also picked up some flashlights. I really had my heart set on a Hanko light. Unfortunately, you had to get lucky in a lotto and be able, get pulled to buy one at table price, which went up like $100. So way more expensive than the last show, but I didn't get lucky, and I'm not paying secondary or double what they cost to pick one up. So I wandered over to the Going Gear table and I said, "Hey Marshall, I don't have the flashlight. Let me grab it." So this is the flashlight that I carry a lot. It's the 4.7's like Preon 1 in copper. So I went over to Marshall and I said, "Hey, this is the flashlight that I carry. Sell me something," because I was, I guess, upset or sad about not being able to pull a Hanko or get a Hanko. And so he showed me these two lights, these jet beams here, and I really liked them. This one's titanium, this one is copper, of course. So I picked up 2 new flashlights. Really like the form factor, the machining, and the user interface is pretty good. I'll probably do some videos with these as well. But very cool lights, so thanks Marshall for feeding my sadness with additional purchases. Alright, and not that a lot of you are interested, but picked up another spinner from Wee Knives. Really well made, really well balanced. I had a 3-arm one as well, but gave that one to a friend at the show. So yeah, another spinner. Anyways, that is pretty much it. So again, I had a great time. Again, it's about the friends that you have there. I mean, you go once for the experience, and you go back for your friends, just to hang out, talk knives, have a good time. So thank you to everyone who came up and said hi to me. I was wearing a shirt with my logo, just I guess so people kind of knew who I was. Not that anyone ever looked at the logo, everyone just looked at my name badge. So anyways, so for those of you guys who came up and said that you like the videos, you've been watching me for a long time, thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me. Sometimes it's hard to do videos, it's work. I love it, but there are days where I come home and I'm just burnt and perhaps I don't feel like it. So meant a lot that you guys came up and said something to me or showed support. And yeah, again, if you haven't gone, definitely go. So I'm gonna have to do, I'm gonna get to / have to do videos on everything I picked up here. So I have enough content to keep me busy for, depending on how much I want to work, a couple weeks or a couple months. So yeah, lots of videos to come. Thanks for watching, guys. If you stuck to the end, again, let me know what you want to see first, or kind of give me an indication of the order that I should go in. The first will be the ZT-055, since the actual production run's coming out in the next probably 4 to 6 weeks here. And yeah, take care.